I just really enjoy betting.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Well, now that North Carolina got its shit together, one day California will get its shit together. Just kidding. That's never going to happen.
And we are live. Welcome to NBA Live Before Lock, which I don't know the last time that I've said that. Felt kind of weird. Doesn't seem right. It is Thursday, March 28th. I am Josh Engleman. I'm joined by Eric Lindquist. We're brought to you by Stochastic, I guess. 2-game slate, one of which has a 17-point line, at least last I checked. Now that everybody's in, it might actually be worse. Well, technically, Al Horford's out. Oh, it's down to 16.5. My apologies to the Atlanta Hawks. I don't want to short you. That is an atrocious line for a basketball game. But either way, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. What's up, man? 2-gamer. Fun stuff.
Yeah, fun stuff. Well, I'm okay with it. Boston minus 12.5 from last night from Lindy's. That was useful. I just basically said, DeJounte Murray ends up playing the front end of the back-to-back. Felt like he was pretty live to get listed as questionable. We'll see if he ends up in or not. But with this iteration of the Celtics going back to Atlanta, facing a team that just, came back from 30 down on them, it is useful to have 12.5 here at 16.5. Might even have like a decent middle situation. But otherwise, doing okay. How was baseball for you? I think we were talking a little bit beforehand. Not super enjoyable thus far.
No, not so much. Unless the Nats happen to score a shit ton of runs in this top of the ninth, which might already be over. Yeah, it appears to be over already.
There we go.
They scored precisely 0 runs in that last inning, so I am done and dead. Done and dead.
Yeah.
Welcome back, baseball. Really happy to have it.
Said it's kind of like I did a show last night with Jesse over on Playback where it's just like, it's triple the money now. You had golf coming in on a Thursday, MLB opening day, followed by NBA here on a 2-gamer. I mean, it's going to be a wild couple of weeks, but for the most part, it's great to have it back here. I wish the Yankees were making my life a little bit easier. I stacked them up everywhere in DFS. I played them everywhere because I just don't think that Framber Valdez is good anymore. He had the bases loaded 3 times, and they came out with 7 guys left on base, 3 runs in garbage fashion. They did go up 5-4 here, so that's useful. But my Twins, our best player gets hurt in the first game of the season after hitting a home run. So rip to Royce Lewis, rip to my life. Not an enjoyable morning, even if it ends up a little bit profitable.
Well, maybe things will get better on the
Probably
NBA
not.
streets. Probably not.
Probably not. But here's the thing, is that now you get to enjoy the greats that are the exotic plays of the night, the nukes of the night. You get to partake in these things. Aren't you excited?
Yes, I'm definitely excited to find the best white athlete playing on this 2-gamer.
Hayden Pritchard.
I mean, we don't have a ton of choices today, honestly.
It's pretty bleak. It could get weird at center, I suppose. There's some options for Boston. You got 1 and 2. It'll be Zinger, and then I don't know. It's gonna be Zinger, Pritchard. That's basically the list.
Yeah, we have. Does Derek White count?
That's what Greg says that all the time too. He loves to make Derek White the exotic play of the night nonstop. So it does count in our book.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about everything because we're going to have an infinite amount of time to do this. So let's dive in, talk about, a little bit about what Boston looks like. We got the news. Drew Holiday is available, doesn't appear to have a minutes limit. Horford out. Xavier Tillman available. Everybody else that's normally in is in. Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Porzingis are all in like the 15 to 20% range. Drew Holiday's around 10. When you look at Boston, does anybody jump out to you?
Not really. I mean, it just becomes a little bit diluted. I mean, what sticks out to me is that there's just a number of dudes that when you're building a lot of lineups are going to fall into your lineups. You almost want to take a stand on somebody. That usually becomes Tatum because just by default, he's the guy that, can go out and from a raw points perspective, put something up there. But at the moment, I think just looking at the board, you've got a really chalky point guard option. You've got really chalky shooting guard small forward. You've got really chalky Pelicans, Milwaukee there at the top of the board. Getting away from some Clint Capella might be something that I end up doing. And as such, I think Kristaps Porzingis kind of by default becomes somebody that I'm going to be a little bit overweight to at 7,700. Does have the power forward eligibility here as well. But for the most part, it's just Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, whoop-de-doo. Everybody else is just, I mean, not a luxury item. It's only 4 teams going, and we're going to be able to rotate in some really contrarian pieces as a 2-gamer. But like, I think for the most part, it's going to be a team that even facing Atlanta, even as a 121 implied team total, I'm not jamming at the window.
Yeah, I have scattered amounts of all of the main Boston guys except for Derek White. Like around the field on Jaylen Brown, around the field on Tatum, around the field on Holiday, around the field on Porzingis. They're all like, and they all look basically the same to me relative to salary. They all have MPEs except for Drew Holiday. Like you can shift these dudes around if you need to. The matchup's great. Atlanta's defense is awful. So I don't mind getting pieces of it. One of these dudes is probably going to beat up on them pretty bad. Hopefully that's the lineup that does well for me. But I find it really difficult to go to anything from Boston that isn't in their starting 5. Like whether that's Cornette, Pritchard, Hauser, Brissett, Tillman. Do you see these guys as viable? Because they are fully unowned.
Not really. I mean, it would obviously be major blowout scenarios that you're kind of looking at maybe taking an overweight stance and, building out multiple lineups on a day like a 2-gamer like this. It is a little bit easier to pick and choose who you want to have in lineups. But like, I think if you made me pick somebody off of the bench to just like play a ton of, don't you go Sam Hauser just because he's somebody who will actually be in that rotation no matter what, playing a little bit. Can get the hot hand from time to time, has been playing high 20s minutes in a lot of these type of spots. We've got him in for 21. Obviously, it's going to come down now that you've got everybody back for the most part. Drew Holiday returning. But I do think Sam Hauser, just the hot hand approach that he has, 5,300 shooting guard, small forward. If Trey Murphy has a bad shooting game, if Najee Marshall doesn't set the slate on fire, if all of these Milwaukee guys fail, I mean, maybe Sam Hauser just comes out in 24 minutes and knocks down 5 or 6 threes. But do I want to make some kind of a massive stand about that? Absolutely not. There's no ownership coming in for a reason on all of these guys. But I guess Sam Hauser probably the one that's most likely to be the one that I would say. I guess Cornette and Tillman's just a fascinating, like, who gets the blowout run type of question.
Right. That's where I was about to go with that.
And I don't think that they're going to have Luke Cornett's shown quite a bit of utility within the rotation. Like, it would be weird to me to have him close when you have Tillman available, don't you think?
I don't know what they're doing at this point. You assume one of the two of them is going to be in there in the fourth quarter if they don't have to have Kristaps Porzingis out there. But these guys' minutes bounce around a lot. Like, we had Tillman up to 19 and change on the 22nd. He got to 26.5 when everybody was out on the 12th. Whereas Cornette, when everybody is out, you do see him get spike a little bit higher. I feel like Tillman would be the guy that they would go to. But the problem is, Kata is with the G League. There is not a problem. I was nervous that they might just go for the option behind door number 4.
Yeah,
which was,
I saw that on Basketball Monster there.
Kata. I mean, it makes me more interested in Tillman just because he's 3,600 and you don't have that extra 1,100 for Cornette. Obviously, Cornette a better per minute dude. I don't think getting to any of those guys is really worth it. I think finding that sort of value is probably better on some of these other squads. I think it really just is a focus on the sort of big five of Boston.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of places I'm looking around. Obviously, Basketball Monster brought them up, a couple of other places where it seems to be like 16-8, but I don't think that there's anything concrete there. Like, those are the kind of scenarios that in large field tournaments you can kind of just embrace on any given slate, where I mean, they're just two different basketball players. I mean, Tillman carries a plus 3.1 defensive plus minus over on dunks and threes, and then you've got a guy and Al Horford, who, is going to be out, who's pretty flat offensively, defensively. And then Cornette's just your shooter. You bring out, he's been really impressive shooting the basketball, like an 90% free throw shooter, 71.8% true shooting is like 99.9 percentile. Like, he has utility come playoff time if they're going to rotate in guys or if something happens to Zinger. Like, he's a great insurance policy. He's kind of shown that the last couple of weeks when they were on their West Coast road trip over in Portland and then Utah back-to-back. Played some really good ball, but like, Tillman feels like the guy that defensively can hunker down and come playoff time. Like, when you're trying to stop the best option on the other side, if it's going to be a power forward center, something happens with Zinger foul trouble, I think Tillman might have more utility just because do you really need Cornette to come off the bench and help space the floor when you've got Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum playing ISO ball all the time? I would say no, but like, I'm just kind of like talking through like, who would you prioritize as the closing center on a random March 28th basketball game as 16-point favorites in Atlanta? I think Tillman ends up being that guy. So if I get down to it here and I'm looking for that random punt, if, obviously we know DeJounte Murray's in now, like maybe something random happens between now and lock, but like I'd be okay getting to a little bit more Tillman than Cornette, which seems weird.
Oh, God. I think Boston's the least interesting team to talk about just because they're so concentrated in their starting five. Atlanta is slightly different because they're pulling ass loads of ownership. And we did just get DeJounte Murray in. That would have been the big piece of information we were waiting on. Honestly, we don't have any other questionable player on the slate at this point. So if somebody gets ruled out, that's going to come out of nowhere. I mean, I didn't think Pat Bev was playing. I thought his wrist was broken. Evidently, it's not.
Unreal.
I don't know. Massive ownership to Atlanta. 50% to Bogdanovich, 50 to Capella, 40 to Krejci, 40 to Hunter, 30 to Murray, 30 to Fernando, even 10 to Garrison Matthews, which is aggressively gross. Who's the best play from Atlanta?
Relative to ownership?
However you want to do it.
I want to say something dumb right now.
That shouldn't be hard.
Huh. Okay. Okay.
Hey, you brought that one on yourself.
Huh. Jordan Klein enjoyed that a little too much.
He's very happy to have good humor for the first time on the NBA Live Before Lock show this season. So anyway, about those Hawks.
Bruno Fernando.
I think Jordan's going to hyperventilate.
DeJounte Murray. I mean, those are kind of the two guys I'm pinpointing.
Well, I have... for a caveat to everybody here, I'm playing 10 lineups in this slate. I don't care. It's 2 games. I just wanted to sit back and relax. But Bruno Fernando is in everything that I've built so far.
Yeah, I was going to say, the two guys that I'm playing a ton of right now, DeJounte Murray, Bruno Fernando. I am getting away from some of the ownership, it would appear. Bogdanovich playing 20 lineups, and I just don't think I want to have 50-60% of him at the moment. I kind of like the Milwaukee-New Orleans game to be getting to for some of those ancillary pieces. And Bogdanovich, the price is pretty much on anybody not named DeJounte Murray. I guess it came down for him actually he was 9,800 yesterday, wasn't he? He's 9,600 today for whatever reason. But Bogdanovich does have shooting guard, small forward, always useful. But with Trey Murphy's existence, it would appear I don't care. Clint Capella, I just don't want to play 50% of with the field. And I'm just landing on Bruno Fernando like you, where I think relative to ownership, that might be the guy that no matter what. I mean, he was somebody who had back spasms back at the end of January when, Capella goes down, Okongwu goes down, and it's just like, well, how many minutes can Bruno Fernando even play in some of these spots? But now he's been extended to like 26 in multiple spots. He played it on the 14th in February, played 26 minutes on the 23rd of March. Seeing that this is a massive spread and having a 1.06 fantasy point per minute guy that you're pretty sure is going to close basketball games, if this does get sideways, which is a very strong possibility to do so. I mean, it's basically him and Dylan Windler, who re-entered the rotation, and I'm a little bit terrified of, because this same Boston matchup, he played a grand total of 2 minutes 2 games ago. But in between it, inside that the sausage patty, if you will, 19 and 17 minutes. One just a wonky game script against Charlotte. Got a little bit wonky at a point, but did just kind of play rotational minutes. 17 minutes last time out. So does that continue for Windler? I'm not sure, but I'm pretty positive Bruno Fernando's on the floor to close if this is a blowout.
I hope that is the case. I'm a little nervous that, oh no, we're good. Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. It might be a third center. It's not a third center. Or at least I don't think it's going to be a third center. Yeah, I'm happy to get to him at 4,400. He's a great per minute dude. He's going to play whatever minutes Capella doesn't play at a minimum. And, all it takes is a little bit of foul trouble, or just simply Fernando plays well, Capella doesn't. And, you could chop those guys into 24-24 pretty easily. So I'm happy to get there. The guy that I'm light on is Capella. I think that's pretty natural given the fact that I have so much Bruno Fernando. But I have a ton of Murray, and I'm really surprised by that. Not that he doesn't grade out well. And I guess, if Atlanta is going to be in this game and you want to have a stand on the Hawks, like Murray's probably doing a little bit of something. 9,600 is a big tag. I had so much more Tatum earlier today, and now that just doesn't appear to exist. But I'm heavily concentrated on their main guys. I didn't get any of the shares of Garrison Matthews. I don't have anything from the Windler camp. I'm nervous whether or not he plays or whether Wes Matthews plays. I think that could go either direction, and neither one of those is a fun direction, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, I think the thing to talk about with Trent Forrest, Dylan Windler, like relative to other like around 3K plays, is there's a massive minutes upside, I think, for Jordan Hawkins. Like, I think the range of outcomes for him from the Pelicans is pretty wide. He could play 26, wouldn't completely shock me. He could play 12, and it wouldn't shock me. And when you get a guy like that on this slate, like, it becomes a lot less appealing for me to want to go punt with somebody like a Trent Forrest, who, with DeJounte Murray out there, is basically just limited to blowout time. Dylan Windler, I can't really project for anything over 15 minutes period. So, I mean, he's played 17 to 19. It was more of like a talking point. But, like, because Jordan Hawkins, I'm pretty positive, has a pretty sizable part of this rotation with Jose Alvarado out, I think getting to, like, a lot more of him, even though he's pulling like 22% ownership here at the moment, I'm far more interested to do that than try to like punt with a Trent Forrest at 2% or 5% or whatever it ends up being, because it just feels like you're getting so many more cracks at it with the Jordan Hawkins. Probably plays blowout run too if something wonky happens in that one. It's just a 1-point spread, so like you're not projecting that by any means, no. But I feel pretty good about Jordan Hawkins at 3,200 relative to like any of the other punt options.
I'm going to hit on the 2 super chats that we got right now. Ace of Spades hit us with the tiers question. I grabbed my projections. I ran 50 lineups with nothing on it to figure out who the best is for each tier, because I obviously don't look at tiers. This is pretty easy. Tier 1 is Giannis, Tatum, and Zion. I got Giannis in every single lineup of my top 50.
Yep. I have 100% Giannis today.
Yeah, that would, I have Giannis by 6 fantasy points, so that one was pretty simple. Tier 2, I got to 42% CJ, 38% Dame, and then 20% of Jaylen Brown. Didn't get to Porzingis here. I'd say either direction you want to go with CJ and Dame would be the choice I would want to make there. And kind of depends on like what else you're going to pick on every other tier. Tier 3, there's only 2 answers, at least for me. It's either Bogdan Bogdanovic or Trey Murphy. Happy to go either direction.
Same.
Probably wouldn't go to Chris Middleton, but those are the 2. Only one option for tier 4 for me. That's Clint Capella. I have him pretty sizably ahead of DeAndre Hunter. Those are the only 2 options, though. Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser are basically impossible to get to given the projection disparity between those guys. Any thoughts?
It's tiers, and obviously, you can go best projected across the board. It's going to have dupes. And so, like,
Yeah.
whenever we're talking through the tier stuff, that's probably one caveat that we should always throw in when Greg and I are talking through it. There's certain tiers where, like, you just want to play the guy. Like, for me, there's no way that I would go to Tatum over Giannis. There's no way. That's where I said, like, I built out 100 lineups like I normally do before the show just for tiers, because I know we usually get that question. And Giannis has just a chasm where it's like 100% of lineups I would play with Giannis, and I would just neglect Tatum and Williamson's existence, and I'll live with the result of it. But like other tiers like Lillard, McCollum, it is so damn close. Even going to Brown and Porzingis, like there are so many ways that can work out for you. And as you're building these out, you always want to have a little bit of that in mind, because, as we're explaining these, people might be building them out by hand and throwing them together. Like for me, tier 6 is one of those where you can really embrace some stuff with Jordan Hawkins, but like that's further down the line. It just completely depends on how many lineups you're making.
Well said.
Yeah.
Tier 5, I have it at Herb Jones, and then I have an equal amount of Brook Lopez, Joe Val, and Bruno Fernando. Don't really have a huge opinion there, but I would lean Herb Jones.
Yep.
And then go ahead.
I just like Herb Jones for this slate.
And then tier 6, I only got to 2 guys, Larry Nance and Vit Krejci. But I do think Jordan Hawkins is like a very interesting whatever tiers GPP option that, probably pretty low ownership in that tier. I don't think I would go to anybody else.
I don't think I would either.
All right. Here's what we should do. I have an idea.
Okay.
So I'm going to hop back over. We've completed one game. We've looked at Boston. We've looked at Atlanta. Do you want to hit all 3 gimmicks for both games? Jordan, are you ready for that? Can we have double exotics, double nukes, and double dumps from Amber Heard?
Sure, just play the Jordan Klein, play the video, whichever one you want. Go ahead. Screw it.
And while we do that, C. Moss with the super chat said, "What's leaving too much money on the table on FanDuel?" I don't know. Not something I ever really pay attention to. Probably not too much more than like 1,000 in the NBA, maybe up to 1,500 is probably fine. But if I had a lineup that had more, that had a positive ROI, I would take it. All right.
Love.
First one up. Boston, Atlanta. Who is the exotic play of the day?
How is it anybody but Kristaps Porzingis? Get contrarian. I would love to hear a Garrison Matthews season. Let's go.
So, Bogdanovich?
Oh yeah, I suppose he's in half of people's lineups, but I'm underweight to him, so I can't say that.
Serbia counts, right?
Serbia. Jesus. Oh man, that's the good stuff.
So who are you going? You're going with Porzingis?
I'm going with Porzingis because I'm overweight to him, which again is just what it is. Center, there's fewer guys available to play at the position, and you can kind of make a stand. We're both against Capella. I'm playing a lot of like him plus Larry Nance, him plus Bruno Fernando, and that's kind of like it for me. And obviously Kristaps Porzingis power forward eligibility, so like I'm gonna get to some Capella with him too, but like for the most part, I am underweight to Bogdanovich.
Okay. My white of the day from Boston, Atlanta is going to be Bogdanovich. So put that one down on paper. Next, the nuke of the night. Boston, Atlanta.
Play the video, Jordan.
Who is the nuke of the night for Boston and Atlanta? And guys, if you're enjoying this, hit that like button.
Oh my God. There goes my deck. It just blew up. Okay. So the nuke of the night from this one, I think we're on the same guy, it sounds like, from this game to a certain extent. I mean, Bruno Fernando, you talk about a blowout, you talk about a good fantasy producer and somebody that can be on the cheap end, 4,400. I mean, why would I play a Vit Krejci here when I can get Bruno Fernando for 10% less, it would appear, 20% less, depending on where you're looking, and a much better fantasy point per minute player. People are more inclined to click on Krejci, and that makes no sense to me. Give me Bruno Fernando.
And finally, the final thing we need to talk about for Boston and Atlanta. You know it. I don't know this one. This one was new to me when I asked you what are some of the things that happened. What are the gimmicks that we go through for Live Before Lock? This is Amber Heard. Her dog stepped on a bee at one point in time, if you're aware of it. Who is the most likely person to take a steaming dump on your lineup?
From Boston, Atlanta. Going to have to be, I mean, Bruno Fernando for sure would have probably. So like the nuke and the Amber Heard play of the night kind of go hand in hand. I suppose it's the person who I don't have who could absolutely step and absolutely ruin my life is Bogdanovich. I have 20% of him. He's around 50% ownership. And I just think it's easy to rotate around. Well, not easy, because I mean, Bogdanovich is obviously projected higher, but like there are so many shooting guard small forwards, whether it's Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Najee Marshall. I really like getting to Jordan Hawkins for this slate as a contrarian piece. Like there's so many of those guys from Milwaukee, New Orleans that I'm just not finding myself wanting to play a ton of him. If he goes for 45, so be it. I'm going to close the laptop early. Probably will do that anyway, but feel as though he is the most likely to take a shit on me in this game.
So I don't know if I'm looking at this in the incorrect way. Let me know if I'm looking at, like, I'm approaching this incorrectly. My answer here is Clint Capella, but it's sort of like the reverse. I don't really have as much. I've made the Bruno Fernando stand. Clint Capella playing well is the guy that would dump on me the most, even though it wouldn't be like it's inversely ruining me. It's helping everybody else. Gotcha. I hope I'm getting the spirit of this correct.
You are. Again, it is whatever you want it to be. That's the beauty of this, is that there's no concrete answer, because people just throw out these things forever. But somehow for the last month or two, the Amber Heard play of the night has like been a recurring theme, and we just kind of go with whatever direction we want on that.
Okay.
Wait, that makes sense. Never mind. Yeah, see, Ghost Mantis, it's all right. It's all right. Take another hit. You're doing great.
Final question regarding Amber Heard. Assuming you had the ability to, would you take it for a spin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Duh.
Yeah. Have to.
Why not? Also, she might eat your blood, but like...
That's fine. In the words of Andrew Schultz, she's got that Dumbledore, bro.
You're probably not allowed back on Live Before Lock after this.
I hope that's true.
See you tomorrow, by the way.
I'll take the show off. All right, guys, you guys can see just a little sliver of a graphic behind Eric's head. You guys like MLB DFS? I bet you do. You should. You should sign up at Stochastic if you do. Link in the description or in chat. The promo code is DINGER. Get 30% off any MLB package that you're looking for. Weekly, monthly, data only, Sims Max, lineup generator. You can pick whichever package you're looking for. You get 30% off. Projections, ownership, top stacks, top pitchers, Sims tool, contest generator, lineup generator, premium Discord, and more. Baseball kicked off today. Hopefully you had some success if you played. If you didn't play, this is the perfect way to start playing MLB DFS. Sign up at Stochastic. It is that simple. And honestly, you should sign up for the deal because we put an Atlanta Brave on the graphic, the clear greatest team to ever live.
Why do they get to be called the Braves and the Cleveland Guardians are now the Cleveland Guardians?
Because nobody thinks that brave is a derogatory term. I think the I word was a lot worse. Not to Jordan Klein, who will wear that gear constantly, but
yeah, well,
it's also Jordan really Klein. Weird to me. I don't know. Person. It makes no sense.
We're gonna pick and choose when we're upset, or riddle me this, Batman. It's Georgia.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. You don't see Notre Dame getting mad about fighting Irish.
No, you do not. I'm just
No, you don't.
curious.
I mean, the problem
think
there is that it's not important. Milwaukee Bucks, 1.5-point favorites in New Orleans, 224 total. Patrick Beverley is in. So we have a normal Milwaukee team for today. 30% ownership coming into Giannis Antetokounmpo, 20 to Bobby Portis, to Brook Lopez, 15-ish to Chris Middleton, around 10 for Dame, Malik Beasley, and Pat Connaughton. I have very little of the Milwaukee Bucks today, and I am not happy about it.
I have so much Giannis that I don't even know what to do, because obviously I'm playing a lot of Jordan Hawkins, Bruno Fernando, so I'm obviously taking Giannis and Antetokounmpo at positive leverage in the boom bust tool for a spin. This is a guy who at 11-1, not the easiest guy to get to on any slate, let alone, a two-gamer where you don't have the best value. And, as far as like from a projection standpoint, you have to go back a couple of lineups till I get him in a top lineup, sixth lineup for me, I think. But again, I'm just taking an overweight approach where I think Jordan Hawkins, the minutes could really, really work out for you. Bruno Fernando, the minutes could really work out for you. We're both lower on Boston. I think that finding ways to get to more Giannis is kind of like my big stand of the slate, is just hoping we get the 70-point nuke from him.
Well, I hope that doesn't happen. Giannis Antetokounmpo is in precisely 0 of my lineups, so definitely don't need that to happen. I mean, none of that feels good. He's the high of any individual. He has the highest likelihood of being the top scorer for today. I tend to not get the top scorer a lot, so bet Giannis overs. I think that would probably be pretty smart for people. The highest exposed guy I have for Milwaukee is Pat Connaughton.
Well, what the fuck? What?
Yeah.
How?
I only have 2 lineups with Pat Connaughton. One lineup with Brook Lopez, one lineup with Chris Middleton, and nothing else from Milwaukee.
That is fascinating to me.
I'm betting on the New Orleans Pelicans defense, is what I'm telling myself.
So Jordan just kind of previewed that. That's the obvious exotic play for Mr. Josh Engleman from this game, I would assume.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see.
Okay. We'll find out. We'll find out. For me, that will not be the guide. That's for sure. Last time you and I did a show together, do you remember what the most expensive player on the slate did?
I don't quite remember. Do you mind telling the people?
Luka Doncic went for like 70 real points and 100 zillion fantasy points in Atlanta. It was absurd. You're like, I'm playing 0% of him. He's 50% owned. I can't do it. And it was the most ridiculous outcome that there has ever been in a DFS slate ever. And it just so happened that I felt really, really nauseous for you, because that was as dumb as it gets.
You can't fade someone worse than that. Chalk play, like all NBA talent, hangs a 70 real point burger and 100 fantasy points. And I was just like, you know what? I'd rather have 0.
Arsenic.
So watch out for Giannis here.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I've very little of these guys.
I'm going to lock him just because now. I think I'm just going to lock him. We got the normal Atlanta starting lineup. Good.
I should probably just bet his over right now. And just to life hedge a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, you got a couple hundred.
Like if he goes over his PRA, he's in the winning lineup tonight.
For sure. I mean, that's the thing about him on this slate. I'm a little bit surprised that we're seeing positive leverage coming on him, because people do like to try to get different. I'm finding different paths to get different, and obviously playing a game script thing with Bruno Fernando, playing a Jordan Hawkins dance. Let's have it one time there to get to Giannis. He's the highest projected guy here by almost 10 fantasy points over Tatum, almost 10 fantasy points over DeJounte Murray, more than 10 points over Zion Williamson. Positionality, salary, these are still things, but if you find a differentiating piece that can outperform one chalk piece, there's ways to it that I think on a day like this, I'm just going to embrace.
Yeah, I think I'm going to fire something like something decent on Giannis just to cover me, because if I lose the bet, then I'm probably in pretty good shape DFS wise. Because like the construction of getting to an 11-1 Giannis lineup is going to be very specific to some people. Like I will definitely be lined up a little bit different. I'm gonna pull that up right now and do it while we're talking. What else stands out to you though from Milwaukee?
I think there's like, I mean, this is obviously the game environment. The Pelicans are the team that I'm getting to the most. I'm assuming that's the same for most people. There's the Pelicans in this game. There's Atlanta in the last game. Both of them just kind of feel like the right sides of it to be on. But Chris Middleton, as much as I am still so mad at him, got double overtime, got 39 minutes. The man takes one shot at the beginning of the overtime. I'm on 13.5 points, and he finishes with 12. Played that entire time with 5 fouls as well. It was abysmal, but I'm going to be rocking with some Chris Middleton, sub 15%. The usage is going to be something that kind of fluctuates between him, Dame, Giannis. We've still seen Chris Middleton with a decent usage alongside each of them, 24%. Yeah, it's going to be second fiddle to Giannis and to Dame, but like we're talking about 15% Chris Middleton. I am trying to get away from some of the Bogdanovich ownership. I talked about Trey Murphy a million times, but like Chris Middleton, small forward only. Feel like he's somebody that I'm kind of making a little bit of a flag plant with. I'm not in love with the Bobby Portis ownership by any means. Brooke Lopez too is just somebody that I don't really get to. But Bobby Portis especially just feels like one of those guys that people have been a little bit too comfortable playing, and the minutes eventually fall by the wayside. Eventually, he doesn't go 2 for 3 like he's done in a couple of these eruption spots, and then adding a ton of boards to go with it. Like Bobby Portis is just a little bit overowned for my liking. I would much rather go to Chris Middleton, get a little different with some Dame in my life too. But out of the starting 5, and then plus Bobby Portis, I mean, those 6 that are pulling the most ownership, it's going to be Giannis 1 by a mile, Middleton 2, Dame 3.
I put $100 on Giannis's PRA. This is perfect.
This is
fantastic. Can't lose now. Can't lose.
No. Free money, basically.
It'll cover most of the entries of this limited day that I'm having. So I love it. I love it.
This is going to be the day you take down, what is it, 30K here that we have to first?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, this is your day somehow.
No, what he's going to do is miss by the hook and still be the best option when Tatum fails.
Probably, because
he'll still be the high scorer, but he won't go over that mark.
You have to update the people on if you win. Like you have to let people know the result of the DFS combined with this bet now, because that's just we're all invested. We're all cheering for you, but we're also kind of all cheering against you, if we're being honest.
I don't blame you guys.
It's going to be entertaining either way.
No, it is. It'll be fun. I wanted to go back to Melissa's member message, 18-month. She just said, good one, Josh, for when I mocked you. So thank you. I appreciate that. It was very satisfying to me. I hope it was satisfying to the rest of the chat. And then Tim, nope, passed it. Deuce Trey, FanDuel plays position by position, hash. That's very easy to do.
Very easy. Today, I'm playing one lineup on FanDuel. It has McCollum and Fernando. Those would be the first 2 pieces. That's kind of where FanDuel is a little different. Bruno Fernando not pulling as much ownership on DK center only. He has power forward center, 4,900. He's a good piece to be getting to. Looking at my optimal, I got Trey Murphy, Larry Nance. So a lot of these interesting punts. And then DeJounte Murray, somebody that's showing up in my optimal too. Didn't expect that pulling it up, but anybody that you absolutely would be playing in cash on the expensive end, because I think the value is pretty self-explanatory on FanDuel.
Yeah, I mean, I think Nance, McCollum, Bruno Fernando are probably pretty close to locks. Trey Murphy, because he's a small forward, would be 4. They are the 4 highest owned guys on FanDuel as well. Bogdanovich is probably next because he has shooting guard small forward eligibility. Although, like, I bet Krejci pops a lot because he's 4,800 in small forward. Jordan Hawkins, because of his ownership, almost assuredly is going to be in that sort of lineup because he's 3,800. That's like your salary saving piece, and he's the highest owned cheap guy that exists. So let's say cash point guard. We'll give 1 for each position. Let's say that's CJ McCollum for right now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, probably if Derek White at shooting guard, yeah, probably going to be, yeah, CJ McCollum.
Okay. Then shooting guard, either Bogdanovich or Derek White.
Correct.
Small forward, Trey Murphy.
Yes, definitely.
Power forward and center, some combination of Fernando and Nance.
Yep. Fernando Nance probably locks, and then X, whatever you have money for.
I mean, DeJounte Murray is Zion's 9,500, 37% owned. Murray is 10-1, 34% owned. One of those two guys is probably in the lineup, if not two. But if it's one of them, I think it's probably pretty even, and it's more positionally dependent. Because like Giannis is 11-8 power forward only, half the ownership of those guys. Tatum's 10-4, half the ownership of those guys. So it's probably got to be one of Murray or Zion.
Yeah. And you can only play up to 4 Pelicans. So like the Herb Jones question is kind of there defensively.
Yeah.
He is going to be out there quite a bit. So like McCollum, Trey Murphy, Larry Nance, Herb Jones would be the 4 that I'd probably go with. And so Zion, I think, probably gets omitted just because I think those are decent value pieces. I'm looking at Derek White, shooting guard, Bogdanovich. Yeah, I mean, we just kind of built your lineup, but I think it's probably Capella at center on FanDuel for those purposes, even though I'm not completely in love with it. It's just because Zion's like the 5th Pelican I think I would get to in cash on FanDuel, which doesn't work unless you cheat.
There you go. Makes it a lot easier to get to Murray at that point.
Yep.
And then Tim Bourne wants us to do the same thing for DraftKings. But he said favorite plays at each position for DK. So I think we can answer that one a little bit different.
Sure.
I'll
do this.
Who's your favorite point guard?
So relative to ownership, because we talk about who we have the most of, and then who are like favorite tournament plays, and that's always like relative to it. CJ McCollum is the guy that I have the most of on TK. The favorite play to get to is Jordan Hawkins.
CJ is the guy that I have the most of, and I'm going to say DeJounte Murray because they are monopolizing my point guard position.
As they should be.
Shooting guard?
Might pull it up here. Trey Murphy at the moment, and Jordan Hawkins again.
Give me Bogdanovich, obviously, and then let's get weird with Pat Connaughton.
Oh boy. Yep, there he is. Trey Murphy, small forward, and then Najee Marshall. And Herb Jones, I have like 25% of each. No, 55% of each.
This is going to be DeAndre Hunter and Herb Jones for me.
Yeah,
power forward.
Herb Jones. Yeah. It is DeAndre Hunter and Herb Jones.
Since I've already mentioned Hunter and Jones, I'll have to mention them again. Zion would be my other option. I barely have any other power forwards, so it's that trio. And then center, very clearly for me, Bruno Fernando.
Very clearly for me, Giannis. Playing tons of Giannis.
And then I have 50% of Larry Nance, which we're about to get to right now as we break down the old Pels. 70% ownership to CJ, 60 to Trey Murphy. Call it 45 to Najee Marshall, Zion, and Herb Jones. 35 to Joval, and around 25 to Hawkins and Nance. Floor is yours.
I'm with you, by the way. Larry Nance, just to throw it out there, I feel as though I bring him up on almost all of these shows as like a guy where eventually you're going to get that ridiculous eruption Larry Nance game. He's been playing too much, and they've been going to him all the time, and you see him start second halves. He's coming off of 27 and 33 minutes. The usage makes me want to vomit. His inability to do anything other than just like play defense. He doesn't even box out really when you watch him. It's like he doesn't go and pinpoint boards. It's basically everybody else go and get it, and Larry Nance is just pinning down whoever his guy is. It is so frustrating from a fantasy perspective to watch, but there's a reason he's on the floor. He's a plus 1.2 estimated plus minus guy. Defensively, he's kind of just been a guy from his Cleveland days, like the tail end of his Cleveland days. He figured out defensively how to be effective and, be sustainably effective. And that's just kind of where the Pelicans want to go with their team, as opposed to J-Val, who's a 4th percentile defender. I love the Larry Nance thing because you get these kind of minutes. Eventually, you're just going to run into a good game by accident. He's 4,200, and I'd almost be tilted considering he's still pulling not zero ownership if this were the spot, but I'm with you where, I'm at least going to have a decent amount of him, but for sure, the priorities for me on this team are CJ McCollum by an absolute country mile. To get different, I'm taking the Jordan Hawkins stance. And then these small forwards, power forwards, I mean, Herb Jones, I'm on the over of his prize picks fantasy score today. He was at 24.5, I think 25 when I recorded the video. We'll see where he's at here at the moment. But Milwaukee is fifth in pace. There's extra possessions. And I'm very curious from a defensive perspective, just like from a basketball nerd perspective, how they're going to utilize Herb Jones between Chris Middleton and Damian Lillard. I don't know what the defensive assignments are going to be, but like Herb Jones was really fun to watch go up against SGA if you guys watched that game. And like, yeah. I am in love with Herb Jones as a basketball player. I think he's just, he's your prototypical 3-and-D guy, but like, defensively, he does so many incredible things, and he doesn't necessarily have it show up crazy in like the steals blocks category. He's not like a 99th percentile steal guy like SGA or anything, but like he is getting his wingspan in space, and he is always just right next to the guy that he's defending. So like from a real basketball perspective, I think FanDuel, Herb Jones, probably where I'd be leaning as we were talking about where you'd be going in cash because of what that defensive profile can be. But like, from a DFS perspective today, you never know what you're going to get in terms of the usage, but you know that he might see an extra couple of minutes. We have him in just north of 34 minutes, which is a little bit higher than normal with no Jose Alvarado, no Brandon Ingram. This might be a spot in a competitive game environment with, with the day off Wednesday. Like, I do think that Herb Jones might see those extra couple of minutes, and 0.8 fantasy point per minute guy. That's been a little bit lower here of late as Zion's played point Zion, and it's just not moving as much to Herb Jones in the corners. But like, I like being overweight to him at a $5,100 price point.
Nothing would make me happier than for you to be wrong.
So those are our two major points of differentiation: Herb Jones, Herb Jones, Giannis. I'm just kind of like heavy on those two, and I don't see, like, who are you playing instead of?
So for the record, I have 50% Herb Jones, but I took his under on my prize picks video today.
Oh shit. So we are legitimately on the opposite ends of that. Cool.
Did you take it in a video today?
Yeah, I did. Fantasy score.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I have him for 29.5 on FanDuel. So like, he was 24.5 when I recorded. So did you take the under of his fantasy score? Because that would be hilarious.
No, I took PRA.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'll take 5 stocks, and you can get the under. That's perfect.
Has the line moved at all? Let's see. It's 17.5 on prize picks right now. I got it at 18.5.
He's at 25 fantasy score, so only half a point move for fantasy.
Somebody's a genius. Did I get the Porzingis one right? Porzingis is at 26.5. I have it more than 25.5. So both of my picks, as per usual, moved one in my direction.
I got a half point. Ha. Leave me alone.
But yeah, I mean, he's in half of my stuff today. The guy that I'm not getting to is Najee Marshall, and I'm also not getting to Joe Val. So I hope he doesn't find his time machine today. But the Marshall one, I'm more than okay with getting away from. If he's the dude that beats me today, I can handle that.
I'm starting to talk myself into giving Tillman a boost, which is probably stupid, but also I am stupid.
I kind of like it.
I keep looking at it, and it's like, if Nance ends up 30% with his rates and you end up getting Tillman at like 4 or 5 and you have blowout run, I don't know. It feels like at 3,600, I like a lot of the Pelicans heavy builds that I'm looking at where I just boosted up Tillman. And, he just feels like the one guy, considering he had the Q tag earlier, has not really been like a meaningful part of any major rotation here. But like, if this game gets wonky, I'm not going to play Svi Mikhailuk. I'm not going to play these other dudes. Like, I just want to get to a little bit of Tillman in the event that, we have him in for 12 minutes. He's probably going to get a rotation. He had been out the last 2 games, I believe, with the knee deal.
Was it 2?
So he played on the 23rd against Chicago. He played 11
minutes. It was only 1 game.
Okay, so he just missed the one. All right.
Yeah.
So he's been a part of the rotation here. Played on the back-to-back, started, but that was with Zinger out, I believe, against Detroit. Pull up popcorn machine here again. I'm pretty positive that I think I'm going to boost a little bit of Tillman in the last 10 minutes.
Okay. I mean, I like it. We talked about it before. I think there's something there. I don't know what that is, but I think there's something there.
Okay. There's a DNP CD is what there is there. And
I mean, he's live for it.
Very much so. And that's the risk you take with somebody like this. I have, I've been known to nuke a guy or two. Mr. Dayron Sharp, the day that he absolutely gets pulled from the rotation for no meaningful reason, for almost being too good at center over Nick Claxton.
That one got me too, if it helps.
Oh my God. I just jammed him on that. So I had like 30-something% on it wasn't like a massive slate, I don't think. Maybe it was, but God, I had a lot of Dayron Sharp that day.
It wasn't pleasant. It was incredibly annoying, honestly.
It's like, what are we doing? Noah Clowney and Trenton Watford from the back, just from the ether. It was terrible.
Okay. We got a super chat from Ryan. It said last spot, Fernando or Nance. That's Fernando for me.
Yeah, Fernando over Nance, but I have decent amount of Nance too. But now, again,
so do I.
Trying to trim it off. I'm trying to trim some off and get to some Tillman.
Who is the exotic play of the night for the Milwaukee Bucks taking on the New Orleans Pelicans?
That's it. I'm just going through. I mean, I have 0 Pat Connaughton, but is he the only rotation piece that's
exotic?
Like, do I have a choice? Am I backed into a corner? Can I take Matt Ryan?
Joval?
I have no Joval. I have 0 J-Val. Yeah, I have 0 of him.
AJ Green's not going to play for Milwaukee probably, so he doesn't count.
This is not
Gallo's
ideal.
probably not going to play. He doesn't count.
I mean, this is awful. Larry Nance is not qualified.
No.
Cody Zeller. I'm just going through it.
Does Brook Lopez count?
It's a great question. You know what? I think
his father is Cuban.
Okay. I will take.
I don't know what his mom is, honestly, though.
I have 10% Brook Lopez, so there we are. We found it.
Okay.
Who's yours?
For me,
Pat Connaughton.
It's either Pat Connaughton or Joval for me. So I'll go Connaughton. All right.
Okay.
Nuke of the night for Milwaukee and New Orleans.
There's no doubt for me that it's going to be Jordan Hawkins' dance. I'm playing just so much of this guy.
I think it's got to be CJ for me. He's in everything that I have. So
that's probably it for me. If we're doing it by pure quantity, I have 90% of him.
And finally, the Amber Heard play of the night. Who's taking that dump on your chest, or maybe just in your bed?
There's no doubt that it's Giannis. This was an easy one, just with the way that we're putting it together. Giannis, if he puts up 45, I'm toast. Like, I'm just completely toast. I will not even look at it. I'll act like this slate never happened, which is something I've had to do a lot recently for NBA DFS. But Giannis, definitely the Amber Heard play of the night.
For me, I'm going to take it the same way that I did in the first game. That's going to be Najee Marshall, who is 40% owned, and I don't have a single share of. So if Najee Marshall plays well, I'm going to wake up with his turds in my bed.
Not great.
It's not. Nicky Tarantino, last guy in, 4,700 DK utility. I assume the answer to this is very obvious once I look at it. It's Bruno Fernando for me.
Yeah, Bruno Fernando.
Actually, if I'm being technical, it's Joval.
How much Joval do you have?
So I only have 20% Joval and I have 90% Fernando, but I technically have Joval projected for more points. And in this theory, that would be what you would be looking for.
There you go, Joval.
But I only have it by 2/10. So one of Joval or Bruno Fernando in this situation.
Got you.
4 minutes left to go before lock. Make sure you have your lineups in if you haven't put them in yet. Playback.tv/stochastic. We're going to be live on Playback in a couple minutes. Greg hopping back on. We'll hang out for an hour, all the way up until 8:30, which is way too late for me, but yet is happening nevertheless. Come in, we'll watch some basketball, react to any news that we get from 7:30 to 8, which really should be absolutely nothing, but who knows how that ends up happening. Either way, we will be on Playback, talking bets, talking DFS, talking baseball, talking college basketball, all of that good stuff. Are you watching Iowa State right now?
No, not this. I don't tell me anything. I've been purposely.
Oh, I have no idea.
I have it paused. And so I'm not touching it until I get off here. And then I'm going to try to catch up to the game because it's like 15-minute difference. So I think I should be able to do that pretty easily.
I have no idea what's going on. That was mostly just an inquisitive question for you.
You're good.
I'm really excited for the fact that I hedged with Giannis. That was one of the smarter things that I've done in a while.
It's smart until he puts up 8 stocks. I can't wait. Every block that he has on JVal, and I mean, Larry Nance doesn't shoot, but every block he has on like Zion tonight, I'm just going to think of you fondly and just know that, yeah. Anyway, you got to let the people know over on twitter.com how this ends up panning out because it's going to be an incredible sweat.
Will do. Malcolm, Giannis or Tatum? That's a hard question to answer.
I mean,
that's a $1,200 salary gap.
Yeah. I mean, you're just talking about like construction differences. Like, what's your pocket of lineups you're going for? If I
have the money, then I'd rather have Giannis. He's a better, he's going to project for more fantasy points. But what does that extra 1,200 do for you?
What can Brown do for you?
Exactly. Well, it's going to end up in my bed from Najee Marshall, and I don't remember who I picked in the first one.
I don't know, but it was provocative.
Kenny Powers says Giannis will go under. I don't know if it's Kenny Powers, it's K Powers, but we're going with Kenny.
Shut the fuck up.
Huh?
No, I was telling him that I don't want Giannis to go under.
That's what gotcha. I thought you saw the next person say Iowa State doesn't start until 10:09 tonight.
It doesn't? I had it in at 7 o'clock Eastern time. That's what I had it in for.
10:09. So you could probably unpause that TV if you want.
Just had the pregame stuff on. Was it Clemson, Arizona first? What was the first game?
I don't know. I just typed in Iowa State and found out that it doesn't start for 3 hours.
Is Clemson, Arizona first? Okay. Because I had some buddies going to that one. That's at the crypto.com.
Arizona's getting the shit kicked out of them.
Oh, shit.
Which is not great. I picked Arizona in my wife's bracket. It's 16-6. Come on. I thought they were going to be down like 30. It's a 4-possession game. What are we doing here? Guys, we're up to lock. It's a 2-game slate. I'm out of energy. Eric, you got anything else?
Just try to get my lineups in quick. I forgot to put them in.
Do that. All right, while he gets his lineups in, head on over to Playback. We will be exclusively on Playback for the next hour, chopping up this slate.
Got it in.
Playback.tv/stochastic. If you have League Pass, link it up, watch it with us. If you don't, cross your fingers, hope you get one of our 40 VIP passes that will give you that deal. Don't forget, if you want to sign up for MLB, the promo code is DINGER, 30% off any MLB package. Link in the description or in chat. Good luck, everybody. We'll talk to you later.